Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to talk about a phenomena that is occurring in India, and the phenomena is that there are new universities that are opening in India, where you can get world-class education for free. But there is one caveat, and to know more about it, watch till the end of this video. The first university that we are going to talk about is Ashoka University. Ashoka University is a liberal arts and sciences college in Sonipat, Haryana. Um, so, um, so what you can study here is a bunch of very diverse subjects. Like it is not an engineering college; it is a liberal arts. As I said, it is a liberal arts and sciences college. So you can study subjects here like economics, philosophy, psychology, political science, sociology, and the list goes anthropology, and the list goes on. You can even study computer science, pure sciences subjects such as biology, um, physics, chemistry. So they have provisions for all these subjects. So what makes Ashoka University great are its foundational courses. Like they have a bunch of nine, I don't remember the correct number, or 10 foundational courses that students have to complete during their 3 years of Ashoka journey. So uh, so what are these foundational courses? So foundational courses helps the students to think in diverse, to get a exposure, to get a brief exposure to different ways of thinking. Like how would a philosopher think, and how would he write, he or she would write his research paper, or how would an historian conduct his uh, research in his field, or how will a political scientist talk about development of different countries. To make it more concrete, let me give some examples. For example, I took course on Indian civilization, and it was offered by Professor Rudranshu Mukherjee and Professor Gopal Krishna Gandhi. So they both are top notch like professors in their fields and areas. So for example, to like in one of like while in one of the classes of Professor Gopal Krishna Gandhi, as he is a former governor of West Bengal, so he shared with the students his experiences, like what difficulties he's faced by his stint as a governor of West Bengal. Apart from that, the way of teaching history is very different the way you have been taught at school. So don't think that it will be a conventional way of teaching. For example, we were studying about the Samrat Ashoka the Great in our courses. So what he did that he led us to write our names in Brahmi script, or not our name, but we wrote Ashoka name, like how to write Ashoka in Brahmi script. So he conducted a lot of fun activities. Like we watched movies of Satyajit Ray, like and yeah, like during his classes, Gopal Krishna Gandhi tried to inculcate or make use of all the five senses of students. Like yeah, it was very interesting to have this kind of courses. Like after the 1 2 3 months of completing this course, you will get a fair understanding on how to write essay or write articles the way an historian will write. Or to make it more concrete, like I also took a course on politics of development. So it was offered by Professor Vinay Sitapati. So he is he I think that he did his PhD from Princeton University. So you don't need to worry about faculty. The faculties are top notch. So like they have done their PhD from Stanford, Yale, some are from IITs, ISC Bangalore. So they are top notch. Like the books you will be reading in the courses will be written by them only. Like yeah, you can meet one of the professors and ask them that this is your book, and I was not able to understand this part of your book. So you can ask directly to the author of the book you are reading for the course. So that's a very amazing opportunity to have. So yeah, so I was talking about politics of development. So in that course we learned about how England, how industrial revolution began in England, how Singapore transitioned within a short span of 70 years from underdeveloped country to becoming one of the developed countries, surpassing its colonizer itself. So you will get a broad perspective of how world works through lenses of different fields. So it is a pretty great experience to the degrees that you can get at Ashoka are like you can get BSc in computer science, or you can do uh, um, BSc in computer science or in BSc in psychology or in philosophy, any list of subjects will go on. Or you can do major and minor, major in computer science, minor in political science, something like that. Or you can also get a like what do we say, a combination of two fields. For example, there is a provision of having BSc in computer science and entrepreneurship. So you can mold and shape your own courses, like if you are like if you want to do some courses or make a combination of courses that is not available, then you can suggest to the community, and they will help you decide like how to follow the course that you want to take. So it is a pretty good journey to, like it is a pretty yeah, they are doing a very good job in this area. So let's move to the next university. Our next university is Plaksha University. It is in Mohali, Chandigarh. So as we know that Sugar University was about humanities and sciences. If you add technology to it, then it defines Plaksha University. So Plaksha University vision is it wants to let the students swim in the sea of amalgamation of these three fields: humanities, sciences, and technology. But that is only one point of a uniqueness. Another point is that a bunch the origins of Plaksha, like how this year it will open, and it has taken its founding batch, and I am one of them. So what makes Plaksha University unique? So a bunch 100 or 120 CEOs or executives from all around the world have come together to open this university in India. If you look at the names on the website of the advisory board team, you can see names such as by advisory board team I mean the people who have given their views or helped given their views in the formation of the courses or the structure of the university. So you will see names such as Abhijit Banerjee, who is the Nobel laureate in economics, Anand Agarwal, who is the CEO of edX, an online learning platform, and more, like 20, 30 more names. So you can just go to the website and see the strong foundation or strong foundation support that this university have. Apart from that, third point is, let's move on to the faculty here at Plaksha is amazing. Some have done their PhD from MIT, some have done from University of Oxford, some have done from Stanford University, Purdue University. So our Vice Chancellor has done his PhD from Cornell, and he has also worked at a long time at as an academician at ISC Bangalore, and he also played an entrepreneurship role at ISC Bangalore by playing an instrumental role in founding the Center for Nano Science and Engineering Center at ISC Bangalore. So yeah, there is a very strong faculty support for the students there. Fourth point, apart from that, is the courses. So here you will not get degrees like BTech in mechanical engineering or BTech in computer science or BTech in electrical engineering. It is different than that. So let me it is offering right now 4 degrees. The first is BTech in robotics and cyber physical system. In this you will learn about robotics. So but robotics is a combination of different fields. So in this you will learn about mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, and also humanities, also like how humans and robots will interact with each other. So yeah, this is about the first degree. Second degree is BTech in biological engineering system. So here they are talking about gene editing, what is the future of health and technology. So you will look at that aspect of technology. Third is BTech in data science, economics, and business. So it is combining 3 terrific areas: data science, economics, and business. And fourth is BTech in computer science and AI. So it is strongly focused on the software side of things. So you can see so this is the fourth point of the uniqueness of Plaksha University. And to add on a little more, they have yet to start the semester, but they have rolled some out the things that how will be the pedagogy. So they have the unique thing about that I found interesting. The thing that I found interesting was that the courses at each semester you will get to do projects the project assignments are only like the tests are like 50% written evaluation, 50% project based. So you can see the whole concept that it is more on hands-on learning. Like in various seminars, faculty are emphasizing that we need to be more like we need to get our hand dirty, and rather than just writing things on the sheet of paper, we need to start building things. So the Prakshan University has a very um, like a quote that they say a lot in various seminars, that they are biased towards action. So yeah, so that's all, and you can check more about it on the website. In the description, I have provided links of the the web link of the each of the websites. Our next university is Kriya University. So Kriya University is in Shri City, Andhra Pradesh. Um, so it was formed because, like, as we talked about Ashoka University, like right now it has been 10 years since its beginning, and a lot of people consider Ashoka University very successful in its way of imparting education, the way it is providing, like the interdisciplinary way of thinking. So they are in the opinion that we need more such universities in India. So Kriya University was born because of this line of reasoning. So many corporate leaders came together, and one of them who was very prominent in the formation of Kriya University was Raghuram Rajan. He was a former governor of Reserve Bank of India. So yeah, that's all about the origin. And so yeah, as we talk about, like, let's talk about the faculty at Kriya. So yeah, here also the faculty are, if you go by the names of the university they are coming from, that they are top notch. Like some are from Harvard University, Columbia University, IIT Bombay, London School of Economics. Like there is a complete list. You can just go and check out. Like if you have any particular interest in your department, then you can there is a on the web page you can see the professors that will be teaching you for the specific department. And now let's move to the curriculum. So when I was researching for Kriya University 2 years ago, the pre in our pre-COVID times, I found that the curriculum was tending more towards sciences, like if compared to humanities. So, but you need to go and check the latest data from the website, because yeah, it may be that things may be changed in the COVID era. Because for example, one thing that I was searching right now, and it has changed a bit, because there is a concept called immersion learning program at Kriya. It is similar to the Kriya Immersion Day. It is the second stage of the admission application process. So yeah, the concept at immersion learning is that students will be taken outside their outside their classroom environment into a real world. So they will go to a community and learn in a real time, in real place, at a real place. They will interact with the community and people who are living there. So they will talk about them and see the real impact of the things they are studying. But due to the COVID times, I think they have changed the concept to like from they were talking about now they are talking about like it called immersive learning comprises of summer internships and uh, and study abroad programs. So you need to go to the website to learn more about it. So that's basically what Kia University comprises of. And yeah, apart if it's similar to Ashoka, like you will get the opportunity to study. You will get degrees in BSc, Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts. You can major in computer science or minor in some other field. So you can go to all the list of curriculum at the website. It is a very good alternative to Ashoka University. Or yeah, if you want to do something in the field of humanities or get exposure to the field of arts and sciences. So the last university that we will talk about is Atria University. Atria University is in Bangalore, and talking about the origin of this university is that a group of people in the south of India called Atria Group came together to form this university. To get the academic board, the people who came together to give inputs, to give advice to the formation for the formation of this university are from international institutes such as MIT. You can check out their website to learn more about it. Um, Plus, if we talk about faculty at the institute, uh, they are also from like the professors are from IIT Roorkee, IIT Kharagpur, University of Minnesota, IIC, Bangalore. So Edtech University has opened this year only, and I think they have already taken their founding batch, and yeah, admission have been closed uh, as far like if I am correct. So the unique aspect of this university is that at university is that it has also unconventional degrees. For example, like here you will get BTech degree, or you can also get BSc, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor's in Design, or BBA. It is for entrepreneurs. So here also the majors are very different. So it will not be like BTech in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. So that there are five majors here. The first is digital transformation. Here you will learn about computer science, Internet of Things and software. So what is Internet of Things? So IoT is Internet of Thing is like suppose you have a car and the fuel of your car is getting over. So the car has got some automatic mechanism that alerts the give message notification to your mobile that okay, um, you have to refuel your car because the petrol is getting less and less. So yeah, so you are connecting hardware with the software, and to get it to the next level, like at your home also, like if we the in the fridge is very smart, and it can tell that okay, in the refrigerator the vegetables are very less, and you need to bring more vegetable from the market. So it will get automatically give you a message on your mobile phones like oh, this much more vegetable or fruits you need, or this and this beverage is not available in your fridge, and you need to bring from the market. So IoT is like connecting the software and hardware side of things. So yeah, so that is some diversion that we took. So first is digital transformation that we talk about. Second is energy sciences. So in energy sciences, we will be they will be teaching renewable energy such as solar energy, wind energy. So you will get exposure to like how to install solar panels and how does that industry, solar industry or wind industry work. And apart from that, the third one is interactive technologies. What things you will be taught here is that user interface and computer science. So by user interface they mean that in your phones when you look at, for example, say Facebook, there is a like button, there is a dislike button. No, there is no dislike. There is a like button, and I think share button. So the design of the like button, like how will be the thumb look like what color will be the background of the post, and those type of things, like how will the Facebook look, like how will the layout of the each post look like, whether it will show in rectangle, what will be the whether the corners will be in oval shape or low. So you can get you may get like what things I'm trying to talk about, like the design aspect of technology. So internet interactive technologies deals with those sorts of things. Then fourth is life sciences. So in life sciences, they are trying to teach students biotechnology, DNA, and cells. So yeah, the biology side of things, like how the thing we talk about gene editing, and how the cells work, or cell organisms work, and those kind of stuff. You can read in more detail on their website. And the last one, fifth one is the mobility. So in this they will teach you about electric vehicle design and autonomous vehicles. So how to make an electric car or scooty. Yeah, so these are the unconventional measures that they are trying to give. So what's apart from this, what's more unique about this is that sorry, it is project focused. So they are saying that the Actor University says that during the 4 years they will teach students, like they will give the opportunity to the students to do 40 projects in during 4 years, during the course of 4 years. And one more unique thing about the university is the style of teaching. So there will be no semester in this university. It is like they call it sprint style learning. So what the concept is like instead of 3 months of learning of like what happens in the conventional colleges, like there is a 3 month one semester, and during that 3 months you study like take 4 courses or 5 courses of different subjects. But here what will happen, like they will take a topic, for example, say the digital transformation. They will take 3 week and they will focus on that particular topic only, one course like digital transformation. So they will focus on getting you exposed to different fields of computer science. Like they will first teach you about machine learning and artificial intelligence, those sorts of things. And the thing that they are saying that the thing that is unique about university, that they are saying that a very less time will be given to theory and most of the time will be given to project based. So yeah, so they are saying 70% will be project based, very less time will be in learning in the classroom, hearing lectures. Students will get more time to do projects. And yeah, so if you find this university interesting, then you can definitely try and think about it and research more about it. Now that we have talked about the 4 universities, let's now come to the main point. Like, how can you get into these universities? Like, because as they are providing top-notch faculty, world-class education, then their fees must be very high and they must be expensive. And it is true. Like, if you go to the website and see the fees, the average fees of each of the university, like if you take the average, then it is like 9 lakh per annum, including the tuition fee and the hostel fee. So like, but the thing is that you don't have to pay all that money. The like, how's that possible? Like, it's possible because they give scholarships. So there are two types of scholarship that they give. First is need-based scholarship. Now you will thinking like, what is need-based scholarship? So need-based scholarship is like, for example, say that you are going to the university that has a annual fees of 100 rupees and you can only give 2 rupees. So what they will do, that after you get accepted, they will ask for your financial aid documents, and through your financial document you can show that, look, I can only give 2 rupees. So they will take that into consideration and give you the rest of the money. Like, they will give you scholarship of 98 rupees. So at what you got 98% scholarship. So you are only giving 2 rupees for getting that world-class education. So there is one more, and what is merit-based scholarship? And the merit-based scholarship is like, for example, you have done some great work in research, or you have won some medal in Olympiad, or you are a very great photographer, or you are a great artist. You are exceptional in some field. So the admission committee will take that into consideration and will give you financial aid based on that, like 70% merit-based scholarship or 80-90%, depends on the achievements that you have achieved. And sometimes it happens that the colleges give financial aid or scholarships in the combination of merit-based and need-based. So it can be like 25% merit-based, 80% need-based, or 60% need-based, 20% merit-based, 80%. So they take all the factors into account and give you the required amount, so that the main factor is for this. The main reason for this is that they do not want money to be a barrier to get world-class education. So yeah, this is all the point. So there is one more point, like each university, you need to go to each university to see like which type of scholarship they provide. For example, Ashoka University doesn't give merit-based; they only give need-based. So like so it may happen that your need is greater than your need is greater, that you are not able to provide. Apart from tuition aid, tuition fee, you are not able to provide give hostel fee also. So Ashoka University will take that account. Like they will give you full scholarship on hostel fee plus tuition fee plus meal cost. So you will be studying there at for free. But there is, like on the website I searched, that there is a minimum cost of 35,000 rupees per annum that you have to pay. Like, that's the minimum threshold. But that means that you are getting world-class education for free. And similarly for Atria and Plaksha also. And Plaksha gives merit-based and need-based also, merit-based and need-based. And so you need to look at the website, go to the website and see like what type of scholarship they provide. And yeah, now that we have tackled the financial aid part of the financial part of getting into universities, now let's talk about how will you crack the admission process of these universities. So basically, the format of the admission process at these four universities is like they are it happens in two stages. First stage is about application process, that they look at the admission team looks at your achievements, your essays that they have. Like in the application, they give you 2-3 questions and you have to write 200 words essay in each. I will talk about this later. And the achievements is regarding the things you have done till class 12th, uh, any extra course online courses you took, any extracurricular activities you did, any sort of leadership position you took. So you all these things can be mentioned in this area of your application. And like yeah, and the second stage is regarding the um, like second stage is where they shortlist people from the first stage, and then in the second stage people are uh, looked for soft skills, like students, like in some, like in Ashoka there will be an interview at some site. Like right now it's COVID, therefore they will not bring you a site, it will be on Zoom, but maybe they have resumed or what, I don't know about the present scenario. But what happened in my time, like Ashoka had interview, Priya University, Plaksha and Atria had a thing called Immersion Day. I have made a video on Immersion Day, you can check that out to go into more detail of that. And I've also made a video on Ashoka University interview, so you can also get to know about how interviews, how to crack the, like not to crack, like how to get an idea like what things are asked into the interviews, so you can be better prepared. So in the second stage, through immersion, they or interview, they look at the soft skills. By soft skills, I mean your leadership quality, your thinking process, and how you answer the questions. Like yeah, those type of skills, like how diverse thinking, like how receptive you are to new ideas. And now we talk about how to distinguish your application, like what things the colleges need, these type of colleges need from the students. Like yeah, so based on my experience, I feel like after having getting accepted in all the four universities, I think that this like they want to know that whether the students are good at any particular field or not. Like if you are in class and like right now, for example, you are in class 8th or 9th and you want to go into one of these universities, then you need to start working on any particular aspect of your like any aspect of any subject that you are passionate about. For example, let it be music, be photography, let it be art, be or be sports. And I'm not talking only about liberal arts, or yeah, I'm also talking about engineering college also, like Plakshan at like they also take students who are very good in music, like they have performed as like they are national player in sports. Like in right now in my batch there are 20 national players in sports. Some are in volleyball, some are in badminton, squash. So if you are too good in humanities or sports side, and you are too welcome in in this type of engineering college, because they are trying to make their batch diverse. And yeah, even for music, like I have a student in my batch that has a national record in singing in different languages. Yeah, so it is not as if like if you want to go into liberal arts college and you need to focus on being good in humanities, or if you want to go in engineering college and you need to be in good in coding or AI or machine learning. No, it is not as such. Like you need to just follow a passion, any subject that you like, and then find that subject and then just delve into it. Like be something at it, like participate in competition, be it national, state, school, international, like any level that you can find your opportunity. Like more, like if you are able to crack something in a national level, get some Olympiad in, like for example, if you are good in programming, so you can participate in some national programming competition. And if you are able to do good, then it is good for you. Like yeah, they will look at your whole holistic process. Like, they will look at you holistically rather than just the grades that you get. Like grades are fine, like if you have got good grades in 11, 12, 9, they are fine, but there need to be a distinguishing factor in your application, because right now like they are new. Maybe I don't think that they are lenient, but like after, like if you are in class 8th or ninth and you want to come into the universities, and in 2 3 years I think that it will get competitive. And the admission process is similar to the ones that happen in US universities. So there also here the same process follows. Like you need to be, like they want to see that the student is capable of doing some very is capable of, or not capable, the students are good in some particular field or not. They have a peak, what they call in, that you have a general good marks, but you have a peak in certain area. Like you are good in badminton, you are a national player in badminton, or you're a state level cricket player. Anything. You are a app developer who has programmed for some company, or you have worked in a company, you have internship in a company, something, anything that you find interesting or get your hand dirty on, so you can do it. Like there is no barrier or restriction on it, but you need to get outside the school boundary or and class curriculum. You need to, yeah. Or even in school you can do some science exhibition, participate in national science exhibition, school inter-school competition or state competition. Yeah, you need to just I think the main crux point is that you need to work hard on the field that you are interested in. And yeah, and that's the way I looked at it. Like, yeah, to focus on a field. And yeah, apart from that is one more point, that these universities look for students who have contributed back to the world. For example, it can be non-technical, like doing some volunteer work or charity work in your locality, in your school, in your nearby area. Like you have done volunteer work at blood donation camp or some kind of thing, or it can be, or even technical. You can show that aspect of like giving back to the world through technical skills. For example, you have done some research or science project where you were able to solve some social issue like climate change, or for example, if you made some sort of app that helped some people in your locality. So you can, like the question is just like, how have you till class 12 have been able to give something back to the world. And the thing that I talked about, the essay, like if you have done this sort of things, then it will be make your life easier in writing these essays, because the essays question are directed towards these types of things only. Like they will ask about, tell us about the things that you find that you want to change in this world, and how, and have you done anything till now to change that. So in this type of question, which are asked in each of these four universities, like the question pattern will differ, but they are saying like, what things you have to change. Tell us one story that you have to. Yeah, the one question was in, I think in Ashoka or something like, tell us about the moment when you had to step out of your comfort zone and push your boundaries. So you have to share some stories regarding that. So yeah, so the crux point is that you need to it is repetitive. Like you need to focus on some particular area and try to uh, but not particular area, but things in your, like you have to do things that you are passionate about, and something different. If not different, then in the same field, you need to go to a next to you need to go to the next level. And yeah, these things I hope that will help you to get into these universities. So now that you know about these four universities in some detail, you must be thinking that, is there any way to study in any of these universities before class 12 to just to get a glimpse of their way of pedagogy? So yeah, there is a way, but it is not like a full-fledged bachelor's degree program. It is just like a summer program, and one is offered by Plaksha University called Young Technology Scholars, and another is offered by Ashoka University Young Scholars Program. So you can Google them, or you can go on Ashoka or Praksha's website to know more about these programs. And it is and I think like these programs will help you to get exposure to interdisciplinary way of learning, and learning in a diverse environment. So now that you are well equipped with the knowledge of what these four universities are, how will you pay for these universities, how will you tackle the admission process of these universities, uh, now right now I think as a responsibility, it is also responsibility for me to give you some words of caution here. So the important thing you need to know about is like how these universities form their batch each year. For example, let's say in Clarkson University they get application form, like they have a total capacity to form for 100 batch, or say okay 100 120 batch. Like they can only take one. The capacity of the batch is only 120, or they can extend it by plus minus 5. So and they are getting application from 60 students from CS computer science. So what do you think? Like will they take all those CS students inside the batch even though they are all great? Like they will need to handpick some of the students from this 60 CS application, because they will take only 10 or 20, because they need to form a batch that is diverse. If they fill all the 120 application or all the 120 seats with the students who are interested in CS, then people will just do coding all the time in a college, and that's not, I think, colleges are looking for. They want to form a batch that is diverse. Like they want to have some people who are interested in music, some are interested in theater, some are interested in sports, some are interested in app development, even technology diversity. Like some are interested in app development, others are interested in web development, some are interested in AI, others are interested in ML, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Or yeah, there is diversity. Like they want diversity in their batch. So what I was trying to say, that it may happen that even though your profile is good, or you have got 1600 in SAT or something like that, you are not accepted. You got rejected into these universities. So if you want to play safe, then you can have a backup plan or plan B in your mind, like what you will do when you do not get into these universities. For example, we can learn there are cases in MIT where, or in Harvard also, that even those students who get full marks in SAT are being rejected, because maybe they are not or to get to the next level in MIT. There was one student who got rejected, even though he created a nuclear some kind of nuclear reactor in his garage. So you can see that maybe that student, maybe MIT already at that point of time, admission team already had such type of students, or maybe that student was lacking in some other areas. Maybe he was not lacking in some other areas. So it maybe depends upon how what is the vision of the admission committee for the batch of that year. So there is some amount of uncertainty here, and you need to be cautious about it. And yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that it helps you. Bye bye.